Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to share with you how to achieve the best results possible from the Pocket 4 using the built-in film tone presets without doing any color grading in post-production. I'm going to start with manual exposure settings, then I'm going to move on to auto exposure settings, and finally I'm going to share with you my favorite film tone presets on this camera. And by the way, these film tone presets are only available on the Pocket 4 and not on the 3. So first of all, I would highly recommend going to the settings and reducing the texture and noise reduction to -2 to reduce the digital look of this camera as much as possible. I think it looks significantly more flattering on skin tones and stuff like that. Next, if you're going to use manual exposure settings, I would highly recommend to lock the white balance. You can easily switch the camera to automatic white balance, let the camera calibrate the colors, and then you can switch back to manual and it will basically lock the white balance for you. And this will give you significantly better results than automatic white balance because it will keep the colors as consistent as possible. Next, if you want to achieve the absolute best results, I would highly recommend to lock the shutter to double the frame rate to get a natural motion blur effect. But if you are going to shoot in bright conditions, you will have to use ND filters to compensate for the exposure. And I would highly recommend using these ones from Freewell. They did send me these filters a while back for the Pocket 3, but I've been using them for about 2 or 3 years and I've been very happy with the results. If you are interested in these filters, link is going to be down below. And now when it comes to actually judging the exposure when using manual settings, you don't really have good tools on the Pocket 4 to really know when you are properly exposed. So because of this, I would highly recommend just setting the screen brightness to 100% and then just judging the exposure by looking at the screen. You will kind of have to practice and get used to the camera to really know when the shot is properly exposed. But ideally, I would try to keep the EV metering roughly at like -0.3 to -0.7. Obviously, it depends on the lighting conditions you're going to shoot in. All right, now when it comes to automatic exposure settings, first of all, I would highly recommend using automatic white balance with this camera because it's gonna make it a bit easier for you to get the proper colors when switching between different lighting conditions. For example, right now I'm in this building in here, right? And if I'm gonna get a bit closer to the window in here, the color temperature is going to change and the camera is basically going to compensate for that with the automatic white balance. And if I would use manual white balance, I would have to do it basically manually, which is a bit more finicky. And now when it comes to actual exposure settings, you have 2 options. Option number 1 is to use an ND filter like I'm doing right now, and then set the shutter to double the frame rate and the ISO to automatic to let the camera handle the exposure with ISO for you, basically. And then I would also recommend setting the EV compensation to about -0.7 to -1 to get the most natural look from this camera without doing anything in post-production. But this method is definitely finicky because, for example, if I'm gonna get out from this building in here outside, I will probably have to switch the ND filter as well to compensate for the exposure. But personally, I love having the natural motion blur effect in my videos, so I don't really mind doing that, but it's definitely something worth considering. Now, if you don't have ND filters or you just want to make it a bit easier for you to let the camera, film you on automatic settings, I would highly recommend setting the shutter to automatic and also the ISO to automatic, but still I would set the EV compensation to about -0.7 to -1 to get a more natural exposure look. But of course, if you like the footage to look a bit brighter, you can set the EV compensation to about -0.3 or +0.7. But personally, I like how it looks right now. But now I'm actually using -0.7 EV and I think it looks really natural. And now when it comes to the film tone presets, I tried all of them on this camera and my favorites are the pastel and movie presets. The pastel preset gives you a bit of a Leica look, if you will, like a Leica pinkish look, while the movie preset gives you a slightly warmer look with very neutral shadows. The CC and NC presets look a bit too desaturated for my personal liking, but if you are shooting in cloudy conditions, they might work just fine, especially the NC preset, which injects some teal into the shadows. And then the warm tone and retro presets look very similar to the movie preset, but they also inject a magenta color into the shadows, which personally I didn't really like because I prefer my shadows to be as neutral as possible. And now also, I would highly recommend using these presets at 70% maximum. Personally, I do somewhere between 30 to 50%, depending on how moody I want my shot to be. Right now I'm using 50% because I think it looks okay, but at 100%, it just looks too intense in my personal opinion. So to summarize, if you don't want to shoot in D-Log and then color grade your footage in post-production like myself, I would highly recommend using the film tone presets on this camera. You can still achieve fantastic results without doing any color grading with this camera. But of course, if you want to get the absolute best dynamic range performance from this camera, I would highly recommend at least to experiment with D-Log. And if you are interested, I actually have a D-Log LUT for sale, which will convert your D-Log footage to X709 and also apply a tiny Kodak 2383 look at the same time. Link is going to be down below. All right, so hopefully you found this video to be informative and useful. Hopefully DJI will release the Pocket 4 Pro already. I'm kind of curious to see how this camera will perform with the new D-Log 2 profile. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching and peace out.